Akon, one of the first global superstars who proudly embraced his African root. Long before Afrobeat became a global wave, he was already making African pride in music. He talked about development, unity, and hope for the continent. And for a while, it felt real until it all came crashing down. In 2018, Akon announced his biggest dream yet, a futuristic African paradise, a 6 billion smart city in Senegal, powered by his own cryptocurrency, Akoin, and inspired by Black Panther Wakanda. Akon City was supposed to be a high-tech African utopia, solar-powered, crypto-run, and filled with smart towers and innovation.
Of course.
Solar power plants, theme parks, all that, man, boat docks.
And it's called Akon City.
It's the Akon City.
He said it would change Africa. He said it would change the world and will be built right in Senegal. But 5 years later, this is what stands. One unfinished building, a concrete block, goats grazing on dry land. That's all that's left. This wasn't a scheme from some outsider. This was Akon, an African-born megastar with global hits, powerful friends, and millions who trusted him. He promised job, clean energy, wealth, and pride. And for a while, the people of Senegal believed him. Investors showed up. The Senegalese government gave him land. Thousands of regular people put in their savings. Akoin launched.
Akon is better known as a singer, but he is launching an Akoin cryptocurrency, he says, specifically for Africa.
Akon said he had retired there like a king in his own futuristic nation. But according to the recent report, that city has officially been scrapped. The government pulled out. The coin is worthless, and hundreds of villagers are still waiting for compensation for land they gave up years ago. So, what really happened? Was this just a dream that couldn't survive reality, or a carefully planned scam hidden behind Pan-African language and celebrity charm? In this video, we'll break down how Akon's $6 billion promise started with hope but ended up as a tough lesson, a case of over-promising, under-delivering, and possibly exploiting the very people he claimed to uplift.
Lonely, I'm Mr. Lonely.
Man was born in St. Louis, Missouri, in United States to Senegalese parents, but he spent much of his childhood in Senegal before moving to the United States at the age of 7. We watched him go from singing Locked Up and Lonely to becoming a global voice for Africans' future. Unlike foreign investors or tech billionaires with no connection to the continent, Akon had a root, and that gave him credibility. So when he returned to Senegal and said he wanted to build something for his hometown, people listened. In 2014, he launched Akon Lighting Africa. That project brought solar power to more than 14 African nations, lighting up over 100,000 street lamps, building thousands of microgrids, and creating over 5,000 jobs. He partnered with Chinese financiers and strategically installed power in politically important areas. By 2020, nearly 29 million Africans had electricity thanks to his effort. The media praised him. Senegal's government, they welcomed him. Investors followed. He said, "I want to use my fame to give back to Africa." Senegalese people were proud of him because for once, someone who made it to the top hadn't forgotten where he came from. The world finally saw an African man doing big things and doing them specifically for his people. So, in 2020, when he made his biggest promise to build an entire city from scratch, people didn't laugh, they applauded. Akon City was to be a $6 billion hub of innovation. Schools, malls, police stations, a tech zone, a film district. A smart city powered not by the CFA franc, but by Akoin, a cryptocurrency designed to replace unstable African currencies. He said Africa doesn't need the West. It needs its own system.
The currencies in certain parts of Africa are so untrusted that people are utilizing their mobile minutes to purchase at the local market. So instead of giving them the local currency, they would just transfer minutes. So I was like, wait a minute, they're not using money, they're using mobile minutes?
Huh.
And that's what gave me the idea.
In 2020, the Senegalese government gave him 2,000 acres of oceanfront land. The dream was now official.
Akon is better known as a singer, but he is launching an Akoin cryptocurrency. He says
Akon hit the global stage. Panels, podcasts, news shows, selling the dream of a new Africa right in Senegal.
We're looking at Akon City as to become the beginning of Africa's future.
But here's the thing. He wasn't using his own money to build the city. And he wasn't asking government either. He was building it on crypto. He launched the Akoin pre-sale campaign. Those who donate would get tokens of appreciation. For every dollar, they'd get 4 Akoins, which, if the city thrive, would become real wealth. When Akoin hit exchanges in 2021, its value briefly surged to 58 cents. People thought they were getting rich, but no one really knew where the money was coming from. Akon said he had $4 billion lined up from a Kenya investor named Julius Mwale, a man with a record of failed ventures and lawsuits. There was no transparency, no accountability. Meanwhile, the coin wasn't being used for anything. There was no app, no system, no utility, just hype.
They were made promises that in exchange for people's donations, they would get a TOA, token of appreciation. This would convert over into an Akoin as the time goes on.
And that hype was dangerous because people in Senegal and in the diaspora were investing real money. Slowly, the dream began to fall apart. The Akoin value crashed from 58 cents to 10 to nearly zero. The fund requests were ignored. Investors, they spoke out.
Will I receive that money?
Well, that I'm just literally on everything finding out.
And behind the scenes, the project started to rot. But Akon wasn't panicking now. He went on TV, smiling, confident, telling the BBC, Akon is 100,000 moving forward. He brushed off critics as haters. He said the city would be done by 2026.
Okay, so when can I go visit Akon City?
You will be able to go visit Akon City by 2026.
And if people lost money, he had personally go on tour to pay them back. But he didn't have a $6 billion plan. He had a $6 billion idea with no solid funding. The dream started to look like a scam.
Akon is a con, and he has no follow-through or have not fulfilled his agreement.
At first, you see, people gave Akon the benefit of the doubt. After all, building a city isn't easy. Delays are normal. But by 2021, nothing had been built, not even a road. The only thing on those 2,000 acres was a ceremonial stone laid for a photo op. That's when people started asking questions. Where is the money? Where is the progress? And why hadn't the original landowners been paid? Okay, you see, that land wasn't just empty. Hundreds of Senegalese families had lived there for generations. But when the government partnered with Akon, They told them to leave, promising compensation. Years later, many are still waiting. Akon then blamed COVID-19 and said international partners were delayed.
We're still on track.
Okay.
The thing about the COVID, it kind of stalled a bit because a lot of partners and solution, providers obviously had to lock down.
But while he made those excuses, journalists visited the site.
So there's still a lot of construction yet to be done to finish the first phase. It doesn't look like it will be done by the end of the year as was promised. And the welcome center is surrounded by cattle that is grazing in the land.
And found only overgrown grasses and grazing animals. Meanwhile, Akoin had collapsed, delisted, worthless. The foundation of the city was gone. You see, to even make the matter worse, investors started coming forward. In 2022, a former business manager sued Akon for $4 million in New York, alleging fraud and accusing him of operating a Ponzi-like scheme. A partial $850,000 settlement was eventually agreed upon, though not directly tied to Akon City, right? But it raises even more questions about how he handled investors' money. In 2023, The Guardian visited again. They called it a ghost town. And now, even the Senegalese government was losing patience. By June 2024, Senegal's tourist board gave Akon 2 weeks to start real construction or lose the land. He missed the deadline. By mid-2025, the government pulled the plug. Akon City was dead. In real life, Wakanda City was no longer on the table. The land would now be repurposed for a new resort-style development, this time led by local investors with a smaller budget and more realistic goals. And just like that, it was over. Akon City became just an idea that never made it past the drawings. For many, the biggest outbreak wasn't failure. It was the fact that critics, they predicted it from the beginning. How do you build a $6 billion city with no real infrastructure and a celebrity crypto coin? Who really benefit from that? Akon called the critics haters.
Why are they reporting, though, that it's scrapped and they're taking the land back?
It's all propaganda.
And said they will look stupid when it's built. By 2025, Akon is openly accused of fraud. His foundation had stopped communicating with donors. Contributors got nothing, and in interviews, Akon acted surprised. I didn't know there was a problem, he said. But how do you miss millions in donations, missed deadlines, and an empty construction site with your name on it? Akon said he wanted to prove the impossible could happen in Africa, right? But all he proved was that hype and celebrity can still be used to exploit African dreams. And behind it all, debt. You see, Akon's solar work was backed by Chinese loans in the provision of electricity for Akon City. He had a $1 billion credit line for his solar project, which reportedly grew to $5 billion. Debt owned by African nations to Chinese state-owned firms. Akon praised Chinese for doing more for Africa than the West ever did. And maybe, in some ways, he was right. But what he didn't mention was the cost. So, since the early 2000s, Chinese had loaned over $150 billion to different African countries. And when those countries can't pay back, they risk losing control of railways, even land. It's called debt trap diplomacy, and Akon played a part in it.
When people can believe that it's actually possible, it actually happens.
So the question now is, was Akon a conman? Or was it just a dreamer who got in way over his head? I think Akon did some real good, right? He helped bring electricity to rural villages. He gave Senegal hope. The idea that one of us could come back home from diaspora and build something incredible. But on the other hand, hope can be weaponized. And that's exactly what happened here. Akon didn't just sell a CD. He sold a feeling. He sold power, pride, and independence, where France, the IMF, or Western banks are not needed. And then he wrapped all that up in celebrity charm and crypto jargon. People lost savings. Villages, they lost land. Donors were ignored. And the only one who walked away clean was Akon. Still free, still rich. He's still doing interviews, still making music, still talking about maybe, just maybe, try again someday, just on a smaller scale. Akon might have started with genuine ambition, but at some point, good intentions don't matter. When you take people's money, ignore their pain, stop being honest, and keep smiling for the camera, it stops being a dream. It becomes a scam. You see, Akon isn't the first to exploit African hope, and it won't be the last the way we're seeing it. From billionaires promising impact to influencers pushing useless crypto, Africa has become a playground for development theater. Big promises, flashy branding, fake hope. And when it all falls apart, no one is held accountable. Because, well, it's Africa, right? Who's going to care? Well, we care. So, next time someone shows up claiming they are here to save us, no matter the country it is in Africa, we better ask, who are you really building for?